Imagine watching the French Open finals, sitting courtside in Paris next to a billionaire, when your phone buzzes with a text from your boss firing you. Now imagine that billionaire is your boss's biggest competitor, and he's about to offer you the opportunity of a lifetime. That's exactly what happened to me, and the revenge that followed was sweeter than any championship victory. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Garrett Hoffman, and until that Sunday afternoon in June, I was the Senior Sports Marketing Director for Pinnacle Athletics, a mid-sized sports management firm based in Denver. I'd worked there for 7 years, building relationships with athletes, securing sponsorship deals, and basically living and breathing sports marketing. My boss, Trevor Kellerman, was the founder and CEO, a guy who'd built the company from nothing and never let anyone forget it. He was demanding, often unreasonable, but I respected what he'd accomplished and worked my tail off to help grow the business. The French Open trip was supposed to be a reward. I'd just closed a massive deal with a rising tennis star, bringing in a 3-year contract worth $8 million for the company. Trevor told me to take a week, go to Paris, watch some world-class tennis, and enjoy myself. He even insisted I use the company's courtside tickets for the finals, calling it a bonus for exceptional performance. I was grateful, excited, and completely unsuspecting of what was coming. So there I was, sitting in those incredible seats at Roland Garros, watching 2 tennis legends battle it out on the red clay, when my phone vibrated in my pocket. I glanced down and saw Trevor's name. The message was short, cold, and absolutely devastating. Garrett, effective immediately, your position has been eliminated. Security will pack your office. Don't bother coming back. Good luck. I stared at that text message for what felt like an eternity, reading it over and over, convinced I must be misunderstanding something. Fired? Via text? While I was on a trip he'd sent me on as a reward. My hands started shaking, and I felt the blood drain from my face. The roar of the crowd around me faded to a distant buzz as my brain struggled to process what was happening. 7 years of dedication, countless late nights, missed family events, sacrificed weekends, all dismissed in a 30-word text message. My first instinct was to call Trevor immediately and demand an explanation, but my hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold my phone. I sat there in shock, the tennis match continuing in front of me, though I wasn't seeing it anymore. My mind raced through possibilities. Had I done something wrong? Was the company in financial trouble? Had someone sabotaged me? Nothing made sense. Just 3 days ago, Trevor had called me personally to congratulate me again on the recent deal and tell me I was on track for a promotion. "Are you all right?" a voice beside me asked. I turned to see the man in the next seat looking at me with genuine concern. He was in his mid-50s, impeccably dressed in a tailored navy suit, with silver hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. I'd noticed him when I first sat down, had even exchanged brief pleasantries, but I'd been too absorbed in the match to engage in conversation. Now he was studying me with the kind of attention that suggested he'd seen my distress. I struggled to find words, still clutching my phone. The man's expression shifted from concern to understanding, as if he'd seen this scenario play out before. "Bad news from home?" he asked gently. I let out a bitter laugh. "Bad news from my boss. Apparently, I just got fired via text message while sitting here in Paris." The man's eyebrows rose in surprise. Then his expression hardened with what looked like anger on my behalf. "Via text message? That's not just unprofessional, that's cowardly." He extended his hand. "I'm Donovan Pierce. I own Apex Global Sports Management, and I have a feeling I know exactly who your former boss is." My stomach dropped. Donovan Pierce. Everyone in sports marketing knew that name. Apex Global was one of the biggest sports management firms in the world, representing Olympic athletes, major league stars, and international sports brands. They were everything Pinnacle Athletics aspired to be. And Trevor Kellerman absolutely despised Donovan Pierce with a passion that bordered on obsession. Trevor constantly ranted about how Pierce had stolen clients from him, how Apex Global used unethical tactics, how Pierce was everything wrong with the industry. I'd always assumed it was just competitive jealousy, but Trevor's hatred ran deep. "You work for Trevor Kellerman at Pinnacle Athletics," Donovan said, and it wasn't a question. I nodded slowly, wondering how he knew. He smiled grimly. "The courtside tickets. Trevor buys these same seats every year, sits right here, make sure everyone knows he can afford them. But this year, he's not here. Instead, he sent you. Let me guess, told you it was a reward for good performance. How did you know that? I asked, completely baffled. Donovan leaned back in his seat, his expression a mixture of amusement and disgust. Because Trevor Kellerman is predictable and petty. He's done this before. 3 years ago, he sent his top recruiter to Wimbledon, fired him via email during the finals, bragged about it later at an industry conference. Said something about teaching people that everything comes from him and can be taken away whenever he chooses. It's a power play, a way of asserting control even from thousands of miles away. I felt sick. This wasn't some unfortunate business decision or financial necessity. This was deliberate cruelty, a calculated move designed to humiliate and hurt me at what should have been a moment of celebration. We sat in silence for a moment, the tennis match continuing around us while my entire world realigned itself. Donovan Pierce watched me carefully, seeming to gauge my reaction and emotional state. Finally, he spoke again, his tone shifting from sympathetic to businesslike. Garrett Hoffman, right? You're the one who just brought in Zara Castellanos. I looked at him in surprise. Zara Castellanos was the tennis prodigy I'd signed to the $8 million deal, a rising star who'd been getting attention from every major sports management firm. How do you know about that? I asked. Donovan smiled slightly. Because we were competing for her signature. She was considering Apex Global very seriously, had multiple meetings with my team. Then suddenly she signed with Pinnacle Athletics instead. I made it my business to find out who convinced her. Turns out it was you, not Trevor. You built a genuine relationship with her family, understood their values, presented a vision that resonated with them. That's real talent, Garrett. My mind was spinning. So Trevor fired me right after I delivered one of the biggest deals in company history? Donovan's smile turned cold. Trevor fired you because you delivered that deal. You proved you're more valuable than he's comfortable with. You're a threat to his ego, his narrative that everything good at Pinnacle Athletics comes from him. So he eliminates you before you realize your own worth and leave on your own terms. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Trevor had been acting strange since I'd closed the Castellanos deal, less congratulatory and more possessive. He'd made several comments about loyalty, about remembering who gave me my start, about people getting too big for their positions. I dismissed them as his usual ego-driven nonsense, but they'd been warnings. I want to offer you a position, Donovan said, pulling a business card from his pocket. Senior Vice President of Athlete Relations at Apex Global. Triple your Pinnacle salary, full benefits, equity stake in the company, and complete autonomy in how you build and manage client relationships. I stared at Donovan Pierce's business card, my mind racing through 1,000 thoughts simultaneously. This was insane. An hour ago, I'd been a successful employee enjoying a well-earned vacation. Now I was unemployed and being offered a dream position by the one man Trevor Kellerman hated most in the entire industry. Part of me wondered if this was some kind of elaborate setup, but the genuine respect in Donovan's eyes told me this offer was real. Why me? I asked, needing to understand his motivation. You have access to top talent from anywhere in the world. Why offer this to someone you just met, someone who just got fired? Donovan leaned forward, his expression serious and intent. Because I've been watching your work for 2 years, Garrett. The Castellanos deal wasn't your only impressive move. You signed Marcus Wu when every firm in the country was pursuing him. You brought in the Nakamura twins against impossible odds. You have something rare in this industry: authenticity. Athletes and their families trust you because you actually care about their careers and lives, not just the commission checks. He paused, then continued with brutal honesty. And yes, there's a strategic element here too. Trevor Kellerman has been spreading lies about Apex Global for years, poisoning relationships and damaging our reputation out of pure spite. Having his top talent, the person responsible for his recent success, join our team sends a powerful message to the industry. It shows that integrity and professional respect matter more than ego and control. I thought about Margaret, my wife back in Denver, and our 2 kids. I thought about the mortgage, the car payments, the college funds we were building. Taking this job meant declaring war on Trevor, burning bridges, and entering a world of corporate rivalry I'd always tried to avoid. But I also thought about that text message, the casual cruelty of being discarded after 7 years of loyalty, the humiliation of being fired while on a company-sponsored trip. I need to call my wife, I said finally. Donovan nodded, standing up. Take your time. I'm staying at the Hotel Plaza Athene. Call me tonight if you're interested. I left Roland Garros in a daze, barely registering the celebration happening around me as one player hoisted the championship trophy. Back at my hotel, I called Margaret and explained everything. I expected her to be cautious, to worry about the risk and the conflict this move would create. Instead, after a long silence, she said something that surprised me. Trevor Kellerman treated you like garbage, Garrett. He took your loyalty and dedication and threw it away like trash. If Donovan Pierce respects your work enough to make this offer, then I think you should seriously consider it. We'll figure out the rest together. Her support strengthened my resolve. I called Donovan that evening and accepted his offer. We spent 3 hours in his hotel suite discussing strategy, expectations, and the transition plan. Donovan was direct about the challenges ahead. Trevor will try to destroy you professionally. He'll call everyone in your network, spread rumors, claim you stole clients or proprietary information. He'll make this personal and ugly. I nodded, expecting nothing less. Then we make sure everything we do is absolutely by the book. No legal vulnerabilities, no ethical gray areas. We beat him by being better, not by playing his games. The next morning, I received a flood of texts and calls from former colleagues at Pinnacle Athletics. Apparently, Trevor had sent a company-wide email announcing my termination due to performance issues and violations of company policy. The lies were breathtaking in their boldness. Several people reached out privately, expressing shock and disbelief. They knew the real story, knew I'd been carrying the company's athlete relations division almost single-handedly. One call particularly stood out. Shayna Reeves, a junior talent scout I'd mentored for 3 years, was crying. Garrett, this is insane. Everyone knows Trevor's lying. Half the department is already updating their resumes. People are furious about how he treated you. Her words revealed something I hadn't expected. My firing had created cracks in Trevor's empire, exposing his true nature to employees who'd previously overlooked his flaws. I returned to Denver 2 days later, but not to pack up an office that security had already cleared. Instead, I went straight to Apex Global's regional headquarters, a sleek modern building that made Pinnacle Athletics offices look shabby by comparison. Donovan had flown back separately and was waiting with his executive team to welcome me. The contrast to Trevor's management style was immediate and striking. Where Trevor ruled through intimidation and ego, Donovan led through collaboration and mutual respect. My first week was intense but exhilarating. I was given resources I'd never had at Pinnacle: a full support team, cutting-edge data analytics, access to Apex Global's worldwide network of sports contacts. More importantly, I was given trust. Donovan didn't micromanage or second-guess my decisions. He'd hired me for my expertise, and he let me use it. Within days, I was reaching out to contacts I'd built over 7 years, being completely transparent about what had happened and where I'd landed. The industry's response shocked me. Instead of the skepticism I'd feared, I encountered overwhelming support. Apparently, Trevor's reputation was worse than I'd realized. Multiple people told me stories of his unethical behavior, his treatment of employees, his habit of taking credit for others' work. Everyone knew it was only a matter of time before he turned on you, one industry veteran told me. Trevor can't stand anyone in his orbit being successful independently. The real blow to Trevor came 3 weeks after I joined Apex Global. Zara Castellanos, the tennis star whose contract I'd negotiated with such care, requested a meeting. She arrived at our offices with her parents and her attorney, looking determined. Garrett, she said, when I signed with Pinnacle Athletics, I signed because of you, because I trusted you and believed in the vision you presented. Now you're gone and Trevor Kellerman is trying to manage my career personally. It's not working. I want out of that contract, and I want to sign with Apex Global. The Castellanos contract situation became a legal battle that exposed Trevor's deepest vulnerabilities. Her attorneys argued that the contract had been procured based on my personal relationship and expertise, that Trevor had misrepresented the situation by firing me immediately after securing her signature, and that Pinnacle Athletics was unable to provide the agreed-upon services without me. It was a complicated legal argument, but it had merit, especially when 3 other athletes I'd signed came forward with similar complaints about deteriorating service quality after my departure. The settlement, reached 4 months after my firing, was devastating for Trevor. Zara Castellanos was released from her contract and immediately signed with Apex Global. Two other major clients followed. Pinnacle Athletics was required to pay substantial penalties and legal fees. The financial damage was severe, but the reputational destruction was worse. The industry now saw clearly what kind of leader Trevor Kellerman really was: petty, vindictive, and ultimately self-destructive. But my revenge wasn't about destroying Trevor's company. It was about building something better. Within a year at Apex Global, I'd brought in 15 new athlete clients, developed innovative partnership structures that became industry models, and built a team culture based on respect and collaboration. I was promoted to executive vice president and given equity that made my family's financial future secure. More importantly, I was happy, working for a leader who valued integrity over ego. The final twist came at an industry conference 2 years after that text message in Paris. Trevor was there, diminished and desperate, trying to rebuild relationships he'd burned. When we crossed paths in the hotel lobby, he actually approached me, attempting some awkward reconciliation speech about misunderstandings and different management philosophies. I listened politely, then said the only words that mattered. "Trevor, you taught me an invaluable lesson that day in Paris. You taught me that loyalty without respect is worthless, that talent has value independent of who employs it, and that sometimes the best thing that can happen is being forced to recognize your own worth. So thank you. That text message was the best gift you ever gave me." I walked away, leaving him standing there, and never looked back. The French Open had given me more than courtside seats and a job offer. It had given me freedom, vindication, and the understanding that sometimes betrayal is just the universe pushing you towards something better. Trevor Kellerman had tried to humiliate me at my highest moment. Instead, he'd launched me into a career beyond anything I'd imagined possible. And that, more than any revenge I could have planned, was the sweetest victory of all.